Hi, everybody. It's Bob Husler from The Fan. Coming up next, it's Locked Up Sports.
Well, nobody is happier to see June go and July come and the page turn on the calendar than the New York Mets, as they had a disastrous June. They've lost 15 of 18, and the day off was much needed yesterday. I'm not sure who needed it more, the fan base, the team, the media. Everybody just needed to get away from this thing for a day, and I hope they did. I hope you did. We didn't do a show. The Mets didn't play a game. We just all needed to step back because it's been a complete and utter disaster. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, and it just seems perfect that it's Bobby Bonilla Day, right? One of the most dysfunctional things that the Mets franchise has ever done, coming at a time where they can't do anything right about now. Like I said, they've lost 15 of 18 and now a game and a half behind the Phillies. They are coming off a series where it was probably one of the worst beatdowns that the team has ever taken in franchise history. A bad Pirates team that can't score runs, and they were outscored 30-4 in the 3 games in Pittsburgh. Just a complete washout for the Mets. They had a players-only team meeting on Saturday after the game. They came out Sunday. They lost 12-1. Nothing has gone right. Nothing in the last, I'd say, since the Friday night against Tampa Bay, where they lost a game. Nothing has gone right. They won 2 games against Atlanta. We kind of thought, okay, they're back. And then they go and they have one of their worst beatdowns in franchise history against a bad Pirates team. And now it's back to Citi Field. Be interesting to see the reaction that the fans give tonight. The crowd, the size of the crowd. It's a beautiful day, but it is hot. It should be a big crowd because the tickets were already sold. So it'll be a big crowd. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. And if things get, off to a rough start, you could count on it being a rough night for the Mets as far as the crowd goes and their reaction to it because they're sick and tired of this. This team was 17, 18 games over 500. They had an 8-game lead in the division, and then it just now just gone, everything gone right out from underneath them. And it just happened so fast, and now they're a game and a half behind the Phillies. They do lead the wild card, I guess, if you want to talk about that. But you don't want to get stuck in that wild card. You don't want to have to play that 3-game series at home or on the road, anywhere. You don't have to play it anywhere because you could very easily lose 2 out of 3 and then it's over. But there's still a lot of season left. We have passed the halfway point. We are done with June. It's now July, and listen, you got to be happy that it's July. Just get June the hell out of here. Tonight, the Brewers in town, 3 against the Brewers, then 3 against the Yankees. So it's not going to get any easier. They're not playing any, cupcakes anymore. Not like it matters because you'd think the Pirates were a cupcake series, and they got outscored 30-4. And everybody is to blame for this. Everybody. Even Juan Soto, who has had one of the great statistical months in Mets history, has some blame to take for this because, he's had a great month. Home runs, RBIs, he's going to probably walk away with player of the month. But when it counted and there were runners in scoring position, Soto's hitting 136 in the month of June, 3 for 22. So as good as his month was, the Mets were getting blown out all over the place. He was hitting I hate to say meaningless home runs. People always say that. But when it counted, runners in scoring position, him and the rest of this lineup can't get the bat on the ball. They can't put it in the air if they got to run on third in less than 2 outs. They can't put it on the ground if they got to run on second in less than 2 outs. They can't get a base hit with 2 outs. They can't do anything right. Lindor, disastrous month. He was 1 for 14 against Pittsburgh. 1 for 14. Soto had an okay series. Vientos came back. We were all waiting for Vientos, right? Okay, maybe if Vientos, he took this little break. It's what he needed. He didn't have a good start. After last year, he was a superstar last year. Came on this year, slow start. Then he got hurt. We figured it'd be good for him. Came back in this Pittsburgh series, 1 for 13. So Vientos, no good. And that was part of the lore and the magic of last year is that these kids, Alvarez, Vientos, Beatty, they all played better than we expected. And they're not getting that now from this lineup. And when the top of the lineup, when Soto and Alonso and Nimmo's been hitting, when those guys aren't hitting, exceeding expectations, the lineup is no good because the bottom 4 or 5 in that lineup every night is just automatic outs. You got Alvarez, who's your star catcher, sitting in the minor leagues. You got Vientos, who just played in the minor leagues, called up here, 1 for 13 against the Pirates. The pitching staff is in shambles. Half of them in the minors rehabbing. Couple getting closer to coming back. The bullpen is just overworked. The Mets are signing guys to one-day deals, basically picking them up off the scrap heap to throw some innings because they don't have anybody to throw innings because they're just so overworked. But then on the back end of the bullpen, Diaz is probably underworked because when you're not winning games, you don't pitch the closer. And they're bringing these guys in and they're just getting shelled. And then it was so bad with the bullpen that Mendoza, something you never see on Saturday, he had his pitcher, Blackburn, pitched an inning, hour and a half rain delay, brought him back out. And what happened? 5 straight hits, 3 runs, 4 runs, and the game was over. Yesterday, Montas comes out. On Sunday, Montas comes out. 5 innings, 5 runs in the first. I mean, these games aren't even close. It's not like they're losing 3-2 where you can be like, oh, if they got a hit here, or if they just got it out here, or if they made this play, it would be different. No, it's 12-1, 9-2, 9-1 against the Pirates. They got beat up by the Braves, too, in the games that they lost to them. They got beat up by the Braves in Atlanta. The Phillies beat them up in a sweep. And these were big games in this season. And now they find themselves a game and a half back, just in a complete free fall. And like I said, everybody's to blame. Mendoza's to blame. You could blame, people want to blame the hitting coach and the pitching coach. You go ahead. You can blame them. You can fire them for all I care. It's not going to change anything. They don't do anything. The hitting coach is basically there to get fired when the fan base wants somebody's head, but the organization's not ready to fire the manager, so they give him, they throw him some meat and they give him the hitting coach. Nothing changes. Hitting coach isn't doing anything. You could fire the hitting coach, you could leave the hitting coach on. Nothing's going to change. They might start hitting. It won't be because of the new hitting coach. I promise you that. They're not going to fire the pitching coach because who's going to manage this pitching staff? It's not Jeremy Hefner's fault they're all getting hurt. He doesn't have a pitching staff. They're signing guys to 1-day, 2-day deals just to eat up some innings in the bullpen. Now, do they have anybody down in the minors? They're going to have to figure this out from within. This is something that it's not going to be fixed at the trade deadline. It's not going to be fixed it's not a problem you can throw money at. This is it. This is what we got. And we have to work with it. You got multiple positions that are just automatic outs in the lineup. You got third base has been terrible offensively. The catching position has been terrible offensively. Center field has been terrible offensively. I love Tyrone Taylor. I think he's one of the better center fielders in baseball. He goes and gets everything, catches everything. He's got a decent arm, but he can't hit a lick at the plate. You can't have an outfield position not hitting. You can, but you got to have everybody else hitting. And when third base isn't hitting, center field's not hitting, catcher's not hitting. McNeil has started to come on. McNeil says, give McNeil credit because I basically wrote off McNeil before this year, and he's come on. He's had a decent year, and it's tough for him because they got him all over the place. He's in center field one day. He's at second base one day. He's at third base. He's at shortstop. He's all over the place. DHing. And if you're going to, and the DH has just been another disaster. The DH is supposed to be a hitter. Like all he does is hit, the DH. So you can't be putting people in there that don't hit, that can't hit. Jared Young was in there for 3 weeks. Couldn't hit. He was your designated hitter. Vientos was the DH this weekend, 1 for 13. You can't have a designated hitter that can't hit every night. They're going to have to figure that out. They don't know what positions people play. You don't know who the third baseman is. You don't know who the catcher is. You don't know who the center fielder is. You don't know where McNeil plays. It's all over the place. They come to the ballpark every day. They don't know where they're going to be in the lineup. They don't know where they're going to be in the field. That's not what you want. It's not what they had last year. And I get it. It's not last year. And this team was never expected to be as good as it was last year. We were all shocked when they got off to the start they did. And we know that they weren't that good. But they're certainly not this bad either. 15 of 18. Now, luckily, the Braves, since beating down the Mets, have gone and kind of sputtered a little bit and spun their wheels. They're still 10.5 out. That's a lucky that they built up so much capital in the first 2 months that they can have a stretch like this and only be a game and a half out. That's wild. So it's certainly not, it's not over yet. It's not even probably panic time yet, because then when they're 4 or 5 games out, then you could start to be like, okay, now it's panic. And if this thing gets off to a rough start tonight and they go and lose tonight and lose tomorrow, it's going to start to get ugly at Citi Field. These fans are going to be pissed off because they're not doing anything right. They can't do anything right. Can't get any runs. They never get a big hit. Soto, who's finally starts hitting. We waited 2 months for Soto. He comes around and he hits, but they're getting slaughtered in the games. He can't hit in a big spot. They're getting beat up by the Phillies, the Braves, the Rays, the Pirates. And now you got better teams coming in. The Brewers. Brewers 10 games over 500. The Mets somehow are still 11 games over 500. That start that they had is going to end up being crucial. But I don't know where it gets better because I don't know who's going to come in and do this. Like, we need Zenga. We need Zenga back. At least when he's on the mound, you're going to get a good start. He's going to at least give you 5 innings. The Mets pitchers don't even go 5 innings anymore. And in the last week or so, they've gone 3 innings. And when that happens, you just wear out the bullpen. And that's where you end up with guys like Dick Lovelady on the team, who they pitch for a day. They DFA'd him. He cleared waivers because nobody wants him. And the Mets were like, we'll sign you to a 1-year deal. But this is who they got. Do you bring up some of the kids like Sproat and these guys down in the minors to come up and maybe fill in the bullpen? That's a possibility. What are you going to do with Alvarez? Alvarez hit a home run the other night. But, Alvarez hit 25, was expected at 25, 30 home runs. He's got 2. That's a big gap in what you get and what you expected to get. Vientos, you expected to be at least somewhat what he was last year. He's nothing close. That's another big gap in what you got from what you expected to get. And you have that at multiple positions. Now, you might have gotten a little more out of Alonso than you thought, but you got less out of probably less out of Soto so far. Nimmo slumped in the beginning of the season. Now he's hitting better. McNeil is playing well. The DH has just been a complete disaster. You got nothing from the DH. And I think the hitting's going to come around just because it does. That's what hitting does. Like, the teams will go in these slumps, and it looks worse than it is when you got 4 or 5 guys in a terrible slump. It just looks like the team can't do anything. But that'll come back around. I don't know about the pitching and the relief pitching and the bullpen. Brazoban went from a 2 ERA, possibly going to the All-Star game a month ago, to now he can't get anybody out. In his last 2 innings of work, which has spanned over 2 weeks, he's given up 7 runs, walked 10 guys. Just disaster. He lost multiple games single-handedly. Somehow they stayed in the game on Saturday with the bullpen. Came in, after the rain delay, and then They did that whole bringing the pitcher back, just backfired on them. They somehow stayed in the game until Brazoban came on. And Brazoban came on, and it was over in 10 minutes. But it's definitely worry time. I was like, don't worry about it. It's a week. It's 2 weeks. It's okay. 15 of 18. Go back and look and see how many World Series champions lost 15 of 18 during the season and had a month like June. You might be able to find one or two, but there's not many. Not many at all. And it's got to start tonight. They're at home. I'm telling you, it's going to turn. The fan base and Citi Field is going to turn on this team real fast if they don't get it going and they don't get a lead early. They're down 3-0, fifth inning. It's going to start raining boos. Because now this is a bad stretch. Nobody saw this coming. And you got the Steve Cohen quote basically saying, hang tight, have faith. Have faith. You got to believe, right? You got to believe. Couple weeks, we're going to get it going. I don't think they have a couple weeks. You can't have this go on for another 2 or 3 weeks into the All-Star break and then be like, well, we're going to get everybody back. These guys got to get back. Minaya, I know he had the setback, but he's got to get back. And we need him to pitch like he did last year. Senga, you need him back. You needed to get him back, and he's got to pitch well. And he can't get hurt again. Senga, I'm not worried about when he's on the mound. You know he's going to pitch well. Question is, can he stay on the mound? He gets hurt all the time. Whether it's his fault or not, he's always injured. Every year. Minaya is still somewhat of a question mark. He was not as good a pitcher as he was last year, previously in his career. That was an outlier. So what are you going to get out of him? And if you don't get good stuff out of him, then you're really in trouble. Brooks Rally's coming back soon, but Brooks Rally, is he the savior of the bullpen? Probably not. Is he an arm in there that's probably better than everybody in there? Most guys in there now? Yeah. So I guess we'll take it. But you're going to need Brazoban to somehow level off. And listen, he can't be coming in there walking 4 or 5 guys, giving up 4 runs in a third of an inning. You can't have that. That destroys a team. And Diaz can't even get in the game because they're not even close. You watch. Diaz should be good for 2 tonight. If you somehow have a close game, Mets are winning by 2 runs, 7th, 8th inning, I think he's going to play this game tonight and tomorrow like must-win games because they almost are. You can't have this go on for another week or 2. You can't lose 5 of 6 to the Brewers and the Yankees and expect to still be kind of in the race. You're going to start to lose touch with the Phillies. Game and a half, that's fine. You're right there. But this thing gets to 5 games and 6 games. Then you lose touch with them. And that's when it's going to get real ugly. The Phillies don't have an easy series here. They got San Diego who's playing well. They're at home against San Diego, though. The Braves are... Where are the Braves? I don't see where the Braves are. But either way, Braves are 10.5 out, so it really doesn't matter. But in Philly tonight, you got Sanchez pitching. He's 6-2. He's going up against Pivetta. He was 8-2. San Diego's played well lately. Listen, they got to get it going. There's still 11 games over 500. There's still only a game and a half back. If you would have signed up for this, that's what you can look at. In the beginning of the season, if I said a week and a half before the All-Star game, the Mets going to be 11 games over 500, a game and a half out of first place, you'd be like, sign me up for it now. But if I hit that they were 7 games up and they've lost 15 of 18 and they just got outscored 30-4 against the Pirates in Pittsburgh, then you'd be like, well, what do you mean? How'd that happen? And that's where we're at now. How'd that happen? But like I said, new month, wipe the slate clean. Forget about June. They had a day off yesterday. Hopefully they did nothing baseball related. Just get it out of your head. I hope you did nothing baseball related. Back here, Bobby Bonilla Day, which is just fitting. Because again, the Mets are embarrassing themselves now, and they're still paying for an embarrassment 20 years ago. 1 point whatever ever $1 million to Bobby Bonilla today and next year and for the next 10 years. And we had Steve Phillips on here. He talked about it. He was there. He was in the room when the deal was made. And, it's still a laughing stock. You still go on, so you won't be able to go on social media today without seeing something Bobby Bonilla in 2 or 3 scrolls up the screen with your finger. You're going to see it no matter what. Even if you're not a baseball fan. Your wife will see it. Your girlfriend will see it. Because it's just all over. And that's how, and it's a laughing stock. It's an embarrassment. But it's not as embarrassing as, I don't think it's even as embarrassing as 30-4 to Pittsburgh. So let's see what the Mets could do tonight. You got it, Clay. They need, and just in the worst way, they need Clay Holmes to pitch a good game. You cannot. I'm telling you, it's going to turn on them fast. They're not. This crowd, the fan base, is not going to give them a lot of rope to hang themselves with. They're not going to have it because if it's 3-0 third inning, or somehow Brewers get a run or two in the first inning, they're going to turn on this team like in a heartbeat, and they deserve it. This team's not this bad. They shouldn't be this bad. Shouldn't be 15 of 18. And then the Yankees come in. It could get real ugly. That's why this series is important. You got to get your feet underneath you against the Brewers here. Take 2 out of 3, so you at least somewhat have something decent going into that Yankee series. Because the Yankee fans are going to feast on this if the Mets somehow have lost 18 of 21, getting swept by the Brewers, coming into the Yankee series at Citi Field. Not that the Yankees are exactly lighting the world up, right? They lost to Toronto last night. They got Toronto again tonight. Yankees are just 12 games over 500, game better than the Mets. But they do have Fried going tonight. So listen, they're in good shape tonight. They do have a lead in that division. The Mets are sinking in their division. Mets and Brewers, 7-10 tonight. Citi Field. Frankie Peralta, 8-4 with a 2.9 ERA, and Clay Holmes for the Mets, 8-4 with a 2.97 ERA. Clay Holmes has not been great the last couple starts. They need him. They need a good quality start tonight. And listen, just hopefully the day off did something, and they could come back and the bats could get going. And you got to hit with runners in scoring position. There's nothing more frustrating. There's 2 things that are just so frustrating if you're watching, if you're a fan of a baseball team. If your team has a bad bullpen, it's back-breaking losses. And if your team can't hit with runners in scoring position, it's the most frustrating thing ever. You got guys on second and third every inning, and you can't get them in. You strand them out there. Those are the 2 most frustrating things as a baseball fan to watch. And the Mets have both of them going. They have a disaster bullpen, and they're leaving runners all over the bases. And the starting pitching stinks too. And they're lucky when they get a run at a second and third. And when they do, they can't get them in. So, listen, we've been through this before, Mets fans, right? We know. There's nothing I got to tell you. I can tell you about. There's nothing I got to tell you. You know. It's been worse than this. It's been this bad. We've seen it. They'll get through it. Hopefully, they could start to turn it around tonight, because you got to start to turn it around. It's going to get out of hand. It's way out of hand now already. It's going to get even worse. So we'll see. If you're out at Citi Field, give him a benefit of the doubt, right? Give him a couple innings. It's been an electric atmosphere out there all season, even in the Brave series. Now they're home for 6, big 6 games. Brewers, Yankees. Then they go on the road for 6 games, and then it's the All-Star break. And before you know it, it's going to be the end of July, and we're going to be headed to August and the dog days. It's going to be the stretch run. Let's just hope that they don't lose touch with the Phillies. Phillies could very easily. Phillies, don't forget, Phillies lost 8 of 10 just 3 weeks ago. So they're right in it. They're okay. We could forget that month of June ever happened if they have a decent month of July, because of the first 2 months were so good. 7-10 tonight, Mets and the Brewers. If you want to watch it, SNY. You want to listen to it, Keith Rad, friend of the show, and Howie Rose. Mets Odyssey 880. Let's see if we can get it turned around, folks. July 1st, Bobby Bonilla Day. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day to Bobby Bonilla, Steve Phillips, to Mets fans everywhere. Don't let them give you a hard time about that, all right? Let them make fun of you about the 15 of 18, because that's what we deserve. That's right here in the now. So that's going to do it for me. I'm Bob Walters. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. Every little bit helps. You can always find us. You can find everywhere you can watch and listen to the show at lockedupsports.net/follow. Lockedupsports.net/follow. That will give you a list and links to everywhere you can watch and listen to the show. You can always get us, anywhere you get your podcasts, but go to that link right there, and always at our website, lockedupsports.net, YouTube. Listen, let's see if we can do this tonight. From the Brian Gunzel Studios, I'm Bob Walters. See ya.